All right. You know, Greenwald has announced that he is about to drop another bomb on the public in reference to this domestic and international spying that the NSA has been doing. And he's talking about a coming leak where he's going to expose the fact that the NSA can obtain 1 billion cell phone records a day, not records, but actually the phone calls themselves, and store them for later listening. And, you know, this is, I'm troubled by the revelation that most Americans are unwilling to even see. You know, he's calling Greenwald has come out now. He's the reporter for the Guardian UK, and he has called it part of a globalized system to destroy all privacy. And he's outlining the fact that they have the capability to listen to phone calls, the actual content, not just metadata and you know, calls to and from and where the numbers are and time and place and location, but to actually listen to the calls. Now, you know, what we're talking about here is a globalized system that prevents any form of electronic communication from taking place without its being stored and monitored by the National Security Agency. That's a quote from Glenn Greenwald. I mean, people, let me tell you something. I am anxious to see this report, and I'll tell you why. If there's one thing I think that has got Americans upset, it is the NSA scandal and the IRS scandal. And if nothing else, it is pulling the blinds off of literally tens of millions of Americans who are walking around living in this little utopian fantasy world that everything's going to get better, you know, it's all going to be fine, when reality is that they are rapidly closing the noose on us. And so I have to tell you, I know a lot of people have demonized Snowden, and of course anybody in government is. But I got to tell you something. You know, I posted a thing up on Facebook about what his father has to say about all this. And, you know, his father used to work for the NSA as well. And while he's disappointed that his kid broke his oath of secrecy, he's also about fed up with where things are going on this entire NSA and surveillance issue. And so Greenwald is, really letting out, and I have to tell you, I know that there are national secrets that must be kept. I'm not suggesting that, you know, everything should be a wide open book for everyone to read. I get it. But I also have to tell you that when we are talking about this level of monitoring and surveillance, this is way beyond state secrets. This is way beyond. I mean, this is so far outside the scope of what should be literally kept as a secret. And, you know, to monitor every American, to find out who's the enemy so that they can come and trounce you with enormous amounts of power and police power is unacceptable to me. What this is telling us is that the American people are, at this point, we are the most monitored nation on the face of the planet. This from the country that's supposed to be the most free on the planet. You know, this tells me, and by the way, he came out, Glenn Greenwald came out and made a couple of interesting statements about the climate of fear that now pervades everyone that he's ever had contact with and all government individuals or all workers within the government. You know, he used the climate of fear term. He says, one of the things that has been most disturbing over the past 3 or 4 years has been this climate of fear that has emerged in exactly the circles that are supposed to challenge the government. In other words, the watchdog groups, right? The real investigative journalists who are at these outlets who do real reporting are petrified of the U.S. government now. Their sources are beyond petrified. And I got to tell you, this is so far over the top. You know, when you talk about people having the ability and the wherewithal and the courage to stand up, I have to applaud Snowden. And I mean, look, I know that there's questions about how far he should go or should have gone, and how far will he go. And I'm not advocating that, you know, like WikiLeaks, that they just do a massive dump and reveal all these agents' names and their locations and all those kinds of things. But I got to tell you, what is being done to the American people right now is worthy of notice. And it's worthy of exposure. And that's a big, big difference. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show. Okay. Sorry about that. So, you know, I'm going to read you another couple of comments from him because they're very telling. If you talk to anybody in journalism or in the government, they are petrified of even moving. It has been impossible to get anyone inside the government to even call us back. That's Greenwald. If you look at who really hates Bradley Manning, or who has expressed the most contempt about WikiLeaks, or who has led the chorus in demonizing Edward Snowden, it is those very people in the media who pretend to want transparency because transparency against political power is exactly what they don't want. There is a climate of fear in exactly those factions that are the most intended to put a check on those in power, and that has been by design. Whatever it is we think should be published in the public, I'm sorry, I apologize, I goofed that up. Whatever it is we think should be published in the public good. So, I mean, here's the point. When we have a government so out of control that it feels that it's got the authority to act as a monitoring authority for every single American. I mean, if you're talking about, let's just put this into perspective. If you're talking about the NSA being able to capture over 1 billion phone calls a day, that is enough to capture virtually every American. Now, I'm sure it's not related only to Americans, and there's a lot of folks out there that they're not going to bother with. But what I'm concerned with is those people that they are going to bother with. You know, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. When you talk about this type of surveillance, this type of monitoring, our entire republic is at risk. And here's why. You can build a case on virtually anyone for virtually anything based on information that you can gather about them. And that means that everyone is subject to being compromised. Now, I'm not talking about your neighbor who doesn't really do much of anything wrong. I'm talking about lawyers. I'm talking about judges. I'm talking about policymakers. I'm talking about people in the Department of State. I'm talking about treaty negotiators. I'm talking about governors. There's a big difference here. When you have that kind of access, it's easy to capture an enormous amount of information and then utilize that to coerce one person to make decisions that benefit the government and not the people. And these are elected representatives. How many people in the House have already been approached about this immigration deal and are being pressured based on some information someone has about them? How many of these senators who voted for this immigration deal, which is an absolute 100% disastrous betrayal of America, how many of those senators were actually coerced into approving and voting for that thing because they've got a skeleton in their closet they don't want released? You see, you cannot, no one should ever have that kind of knowledge and power. And to put it in the hands of someone who will use it for political gain to achieve an agenda is unconscionable. We cannot allow this to continue, America, because what it tells us is that the rule of law is actually absolved and dissolved if we do not have a basic foundational rule of law, and we do not have representatives who can properly elect us without compromise, without coercion, without being compromised, then we don't have a nation anymore. What we have is a gang of thugs, no different than a Chicago mob. This is Al Capone on steroids, people. You cannot have a nation that runs by law when the law has been usurped by people who will utilize information to pass other laws that protect them or benefit them or improve their situation or completely absolve you of all rights and all of your 10th Amendment your rights under the Bill of Rights. We'll be right back.
Station in West Plains is your headquarters for getting and being prepared. Natural disasters, civil unrest, personal and family protection, long-term sustenance, and most importantly, peace of mind. Berkey bottles and home-sized water purification systems, survival food, MREs, freeze-dried food, survival knives, lanterns, ammunition, military sleep system, and of course, batteries of all shapes and sizes. Take charge of your own survival and security. The Battery Station, 303 Washington and West Plains, 417-257-7799 or batterystation.com.
The VA Refinance Program is a government-backed mortgage rate reduction loan for retired veterans and active duty service members who have already bought a home with a VA mortgage loan. The VA Streamline option is a fast, simple, and hassle-free way to refinance your current VA home loan and save money with low current rates, the lowest in decades. Whether you have a fixed or adjustable rate loan, now is the time to refinance and lower your interest rate or get additional cash out of your home. Want to know more? Call the Center for Sound Consumer Advice today at 1-800-593-6406. Get their free consumer protection guide, VA financing, everything there is to know. Free while they last to anyone that asks. But this opportunity won't last forever. Call 1-800-593-6406. And if you would like, the center can arrange a free consultation for you with an experienced, trustworthy mortgage professional to discuss your unique personal situation. Call now, 1-800-593-6406. That's 1-800-593-6406.
Are you looking to save money? Did you know that in the last 20 years, interest rates have never been this low? That's why you should make the smart call today to West Plains Savings and Loan to start your home mortgage. Just imagine how much money you'll save. Key word is save, as in savings and loan. Your loan starts here and stays here. Never would it be sold to a secondary lender. Call today, 256-3042. That's 256-3042. West Plains Savings and Loan. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
All right. Make sure that you get a chance to give a shout to Greg McLaughlin over at Black Ops School of Combat if you are interested in getting your concealed carry permit. And by the way, my understanding is that the news broke late last night that the governor signed an order telling the Department of Revenue to cease scanning the documents in when you go and re-up your driver's license. So you'll no longer have to bring your CCW permit, your birth certificate for scanning. Now, they may make you show it, and that's okay, but I'm not going to buy any of this scanning nonsense because that stuff's going to Morpho Trust. But anyway, when you get a chance, give Greg a call over at Black Ops School of Combat. You can find him at 255-1612, or you can see him on the web at blackopsschoolofcombat.com. He's got classes coming up for concealed carry. It's an 8-hour program, and he runs them during the week. He runs them on weekends, and then he also will split the class into two to help folks that can't get there during the day or on a weekend, so that they can take two different nights and get the program resolved. It's $75 a head, 8 hours in length, and he does have firearms available if you don't have your own. So give him a call at 255-1612. Visit our friends over at SpringCreekBeef.com. They have 100% natural grass-fed beef, and great place to go. Make sure that you give Jane a call over there or jump on our website and take a look at what they have. You can't beat that because it's 100% natural, and that is the healthiest meat that you're going to be able to get. I eat it all the time, by the way, and our family just loves it. So go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I was thinking about something in this Edward Snowden deal. The whole whistleblowers detail that Reagan brought about. It obviously didn't work for this guy. And as a result, the biggest thing I think is that we're seeing a slow movement of the media trying to demonize this kid who gave up everything, living in Hawaii,
right, making
decent money, not big money, but decent money for that age.
A couple of $100,000 a year is pretty good money.
Yeah,
I don't know where you live.
So, he's making over $10,000 a month and living in Hawaii, doing a nice job, and then he comes across this stuff, and it wasn't just all of a sudden one day. This is over a period of time.
Sure.
And as the period of time goes, he releases the information to who? Us.
Right.
Now, he released the information. The definition of treason is when you go ahead and release information to
the
your
enemy.
enemies.
Exactly.
We're the enemies? Come on.
Yeah.
This is so beyond ridiculous. I mean, and there's other people that want to stand up. I just want to. I think we ought to start. Maybe to start it up right here. But a American Patriot Defense Fund that would help take care of some of the legal things that are involved. Just even on a smaller scale, like you say, anybody can be railroaded and be demonized and be looked like, if they can take stuff off your computer, they can put stuff on your computer. So all of a sudden I'm seeing these people that I'm thinking back all these past 10 years, they have child pornography.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they actually did.
Sure. And you're absolutely correct. I mean, if you can sit there and look at somebody's hard drive from afar, what makes you say that they can't take stuff off of it, but also put things on?
Right.
And, when you're talking about them having a case against someone, it's your word against theirs, and there's almost no way, virtually, for you to prove your innocence because, they're going to bring in forensic experts, and they're going to say, well, we got the proof right here. It's on his hard drive. He was looking at a terrorist website. Well, how do we, do we really know that that's the case? I mean, I can tell you from my own personal experience that they will stop at nothing to find you guilty of a crime which you haven't committed if that's their motive.
I can see him go one step further, even having money withdrawn from your account, from your wallet, to donate money, 99 cents, that you wouldn't even notice maybe when you look at your statement.
Sure.
And all of a sudden now you are a donator.
Right. Now you're a donor to a terrorist organization and
right.
You fall up underneath the NDAA or something, right?
Right.
Now, I get it. I mean, look, this is tyranny living in America. And most people, I don't think, recognize or realize how far we have gone and how deep we've gotten into this. Because, the simple truth is this, that everything that they are doing right now is geared at damage control because they don't fear Snowden, and they don't fear WikiLeaks, and they don't fear a Bradley or anything like that.
Absolutely not.
What they actually fear is 25 million Americans storming the castle. You see, that's their real fear, is that Americans will rise up and place Washington under siege. And I can't express strongly enough or loudly enough how anxious I am for America to say, we've had enough. We're going on a national general strike, and if Egypt can do it, we can do it. And we're not going to leave until we oust these treasonous monsters who have usurped and stolen our government from us. This is no longer a constitutional republic. We now live in a dictatorship. The only difference is, it's not being declared by the mainstream media and the Ministry of Propaganda. And the reason it's not is because they own them too. I mean, you don't have to look far to see the fact that the press is only willing to talk about those things that it has permission to talk about or that fit its own personal bias and agenda. And, the truth is, if you track back all of these news organizations and all of these large corporations, that you can track the entire ownership of all U.S. media back to some 6 or 7 companies. Hey, I got to tell you, there's something desperately wrong with that. Because those six or seven companies can easily be compromised, especially with this kind of information or access to information that the NSA has,
right,
to say, look, this is what your official public policy is going to be.
Well, the FCC has let us down there, too. But that's because of the big government we have.
They own the FCC,
exactly,
too. I mean, that's the problem. Everybody's beholden.
Well, it's like the FDA. The FDA-approved drugs. I mean, they're constantly, you can buy those things.
Right.
I can show you exactly what the documentation you need.
Everybody is beholden to the government for their job, their paycheck, or their safety.
It's got to stop.
And that's the problem. So, hey, thanks very much for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. Hang on one second, folks. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show. My apology.
Good morning, Mike.
I fat-fingered the wrong button there.
Okay. Good morning, Mike. I appreciate very much your keen observance, your keen awareness, and your keeping our feet to the fire, or keeping our feet firmly planted on these issues. I mean, the deal about Snowden, the deal about Boston, the people of Boston, I don't know, the people in the big cities have got their feet on concrete. They don't have their feet firmly planted in the soil like the people back in Missouri do, concerning their rights, which come from property. Anyway, so there's also the issue about Snowden possibly being a plant. There's some are saying that he's a poster child, just like Assange is a poster child. And what I'm saying here is that for many it can become a distraction to keep us away from the issues that are right in front of us, like the Blue Waves Project, which tried to overwhelm everybody at the last minute. So I very much appreciate that you keep us really our feet on the ground with all these issues. The bigger issues I have little control over, the national stuff, but the local issues we can do something about. I very much appreciate. I just wanted to acknowledge you for that.
Well, thank you.
Keep our feet firmly planted. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I'd actually drawn an alternative scenario or analogy to that, which is simply that, to me, it feels more like gravity has left the surface of the earth, and we're all kind of floating about right now, and there's nothing solid to grab a hold of to better understand, where to get our feet underneath us, right? It's like standing on ice and not being able to quite catch your balance. And we're kept off balance by, either stunning revelations which are intended to distract us from the real goings-on, or some of these revelations come out, and then we're fed so much misinformation and disinformation about it that most Americans just throw their hands up in disgust and say, well, I don't know what the truth is anymore. And that's as big a problem as the intentional misdirection, Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, what the previous caller, the caller before the last one, had mentioned about a public defense fund for whistleblowers.
Yes.
I really think that's a good idea, like an ombudsman kind of thing.
Sure. And I don't disagree with that. Especially his father. I read an article in an interview with his father in which he was basically stating that he is bankrupting himself and his family in an attempt to try to hire attorneys to represent his son. And, there's something desperately wrong with the fact that, the government's got literally tens of thousands of people working on Snowden's case, and this guy can't, he walks in to talk to an attorney, and the first thing the attorney says is, I need $1.5 million before we can even move forward. And I know how attorneys operate like that. Go get yourself involved in a state case or a similarly situated case that now involves the federal government, and the price goes from $5,000 to $50,000, literally just because the word federal is involved. It's like buying oil for your boat. You buy motor oil for your boat, and it's the same motor oil as you get for your car, but because it says marine on it, suddenly it's $9 a quart instead of $3.50 a quart. And it's the same thing here. As soon as you are involved in the federal scenario, everything changes, and lawyers deal with it differently. There's a lot less of them to choose from, and so finding an attorney who can properly represent is just, almost impossible, and certainly outside the scope of the affordability of any American. And it's designed that way. It beats you to death by attrition, financial attrition. So, Hey, thanks very much for that update. I appreciate it. And I will think about how to do that kind of project.
Whistleblowers don't seem to fare very well.
No, I get it.
The guy turned in Fast and Furious. They demoted that guy. You haven't heard anything from him for a while.
Right.
We really ought to find out what's going on with the guy.
I got you. Hey, thanks so much. Folks, you're listening to America's Voice Now. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. You can find our Facebook page at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. Please make sure that you like it, that you click the like button, and that you comment and like specific stories, because that helps us spread the word. And then as well, you can catch this and every other program that we do on YouTube at youtube.com/America's Voice Now.
West Plains, Missouri, it's KBMV Birch Tree, the Ozarks' best